All right, looks like we're going live. Michael, how's it going?
All right,
We did it.
we did it. One more cash flow event on the books.
Yeah. So the cash flow event that used to be 3 times a month, then 2 times a month. Now it's 1 time per month, every third Tuesday. And instead of doing the debrief on the following day, Michael said, "Hey, let's just do it right now since it's fresh in our minds." And I said, "Yes, let's do it. Makes sense."
Yeah, I think so. While it's fresh in our head.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so many lessons that we learn every time we play, right? And I think, I mean, I'm learning from other people's growth and also learning from other people's mistakes, not just as an investor, as a moderator and a host too. What do you think?
Absolutely. I got to learn new ways of say, you shared about one of your deals that when you wholesale that deal for 30 grand, you got 10 of that, right
Upfront.
away.
Mhm.
And then you financed your assignment fee
Mhm.
at 300 some dollars a month.
Uh, Not just that. One of the things that we did in the game today that I really appreciated that you brought out, one of our players was a wholesaler, and Fernando brought out the idea. Well, what if instead of having money up front as a wholesaler, which is going to cost the initial investor some money up front as well, what if there was a partial ownership interest into the deal? And I think that we can get really creative because right now, especially with all the banking stuff that's going on, money's going to get a little bit tighter, I think. And if there's a way to say, well, what if I share the equity, future equity? One of the ideas also was to, what if instead also instead of making my wholesale fee up front, what if I get the rental income instead? So, I mean, there's all kinds of different ways of financing wholesale fees and doing creative financing when it comes to entering into a contract. And that's just, I guess, one of the things that we talked about today.
Yeah, we talked about tons of things in a very short time. Maybe, it was less than 3 hours, yet this is what my sheet looks like out of a 3 hour game.
Mhm.
And we had say seven participants
Mhm.
tonight. And I think most of them at some point in time, they were like, wow, this is going faster than I anticipated, because Michael over here is simulating like real life, meaning the contract is in escrow, there's a due date, we need to close, and he's putting timers of 60 seconds, 90 seconds of like, okay, you guys got to have signed the contract, and just close the deal. And then timer will go off, people are still talking, sorry, deal is the seller does not want to sell anymore.
Right.
So that trained everyone here to be take time into consideration to be something that's of the essence at all times.
Mhm. Mhm.
For the sake of closing deals, and keeping things flowing.
Right, because time is of the essence. And I think that when we have this realization and awareness that time is of the essence, then it's just, it speeds everything up so quickly. But it's interesting because what was the second lesson that I said everybody should learn?
It's every number is changeable to me.
Every number is changeable to me. And it's interesting because everybody's, we're cramped for time and we're doing this. Nobody ever said, can we change the clock to 2 minutes?
No one did. No one did. So a lot of
Can we change the clock to 3 minutes? This is our first time playing.
Yeah, one of the participants said that. So during the takeaways part at the end of the session, we did the takeaways, and one of the takeaways from one of the participants is that the expansion of boundaries, that what she thought was a boundary no longer is a boundary. She got her awareness to be expanded of what's possible.
Right.
And she's someone that's been investing for many years. This is an experienced investor that had a breakthrough when it comes to what's even more possible.
Well, yeah, it's super interesting because she works for a major lending institution.
Yeah.
And so she has been trained by what she thinks she knows to be true about lending and what she thinks she knows to be true about investing. And then after playing the game in the simulation, she just said, you know what? well, I thought we were stuck in this box, and that box just got blown out of the water today. I think that was a huge learning lesson for her and her colleague. They're both from major lending institutions in the United States. And I think to think that if she's and her goal, by the way, is to acquire 50 more doors.
This year,
50 more. Yeah, by the end of this year is to acquire 50 more doors, which means that she's already actively investing, actively acquiring, and actively managing other properties right now. And so to know that we have an experienced investor who has this box, is already making active investment decisions, and now thinking, okay, there are different ways to do this, and I think I'm able to expand my capacity of doing even more than what I already know. That was it was a huge, to me, it was a huge compliment, and just a lot of fun being able to facilitate an environment where she's able to grow.
Yeah, and not every participant had a similar goal target for 2023. One is just to make, say 100 grand for the year. Another one is to have passive income of 4,000 a month.
Mhm.
So different goals, different target, different personalities, and everyone got a lot of value today, Michael.
I think so. One of the lesson of just creating the boundary that every number is to me. And I think that if we can, I mean, this is a lesson that I've recently brought into awareness for me.
Yeah, every number is changeable to me.
It's changeable. Every number is changeable. And then the last part is to me. And I think that when we can step into the awareness that the numbers that we have are changeable to us, and then the additional awareness is just because it's changeable to us does not mean it's changeable to somebody else.
And one needs to ask.
Yeah, and we need to ask. And sometimes, you know what, sometimes the favor just doesn't end up going our way, by the way.
Right. It doesn't. And one needs to swing that bat. You gotta swing that bat, otherwise you don't get it. So you need to ask.
Yeah, but we need to keep asking.
6 times, right? That's what you teach.
Yeah, well, that's not, I mean, this is something I learned from another one of my coaches, is to ask 6 times for exactly what you want. I learned that from, I want to give credit where credit's due. So the coach that I use, his name is Clinton Swain. I want to make sure, because that's where I learned it from.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take anything away from him. But I also teach that as my lessons too. And that's one of the things that we didn't do today. I should have mentioned it.
Right. Yeah. Well, we only had 3 hours. So I think you packed a lot in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then I think a couple of things we did was talk about identity and values.
Yes.
So what's and first I gave the prompt in the beginning of the session, like who do you need to be so that target becomes natural. Most people didn't have the answer, but 3 hours later, it's like now you experienced what it is to have pressure in 3 hours in the game.
Mhm.
That one felt like we're laughing and giggling, but at the same time, like deals are getting lost because people are not agreeing on things fast enough, not writing contracts enough. Meaning, like we have like tons of this like little contracts, like tons,
Multiple.
like so every turn. Every dice that's rolled, there's a potential for a deal to be made. So we talk about identity. Who do I need to become so that my target happens naturally? And at the end, everyone knew exactly. Oh, I need to become someone who is ...
Right.
And then the values. What's important to you about real estate? So some people said family, others said freedom of time, others said freedom of spending, having lots of money to bless themselves and others. And so it's very important there's a book called Start With Why. It's very important to start with why, also start with the end in mind. So the target for the year, what's your target for the year? For some is adding doors, meaning units or houses.
Sure.
For others is a monthly income. For others is net worth. For me was net worth. So it's unique, right?
It is.
Everyone has their own way of doing things, and being true to your unique way of doing things will allow you to if things don't go your way all the time, which I hope it does. I hope it does. And
I do too.
and just in case, God or the universe, gives you some, some mountains to climb here and there. As you start with why, as you start with the identity and the values, then it'll give you that inspiration to keep going, regardless of what the trail looks like, the path, because you know what you want. And once you are aware of what you want, one usually gets excited. Like I get excited about thinking my net worth, and people here, they got excited just by talking about their target and already dreaming into it, feeling it. And if one is dreaming and feeling into it, then the actions, they are congruent. The actions are congruent. So start with the end in mind, start with the why, and start in the high level of things. So either energetically or spiritually, and then mental, emotional, and physical. So if you want to do things physically with your body, with your hands, contracts, phone calls, start up here, energetically or spiritually, and let the thoughts then follow, let the emotions follow, and let the actions follow.
Yes. all of that. I had a great time as usual, right? We're playing games.
Yeah, and thank you so much. You bring so much value, like how in the middle of a negotiation, you adding time in exchange. Yeah, if you want us to keep escrow open, send another $5,000, or we're gonna close escrow because you haven't fulfilled on funding or getting your loan. So
I brought that in, but again, they didn't use those numbers to their advantage. What they could have said is, well, instead of paying 1,000 or 5,000 or whatever the extension fee is for the escrow, is it okay if we just have 2 more minutes without the fee?
Right.
Because they could have asked.
They could have, yeah.
Today was an interesting dynamic that it was really fun and exciting for me to do. Fernando's, he brought out some beads and glasses.
Oh, it's right here.
And it was just so much fun because, so for example, I had a chance to play today. When I did this, I got to play the investor, the hard money investor. And then doing this, I got to represent a major bank, Jamie Goldman,
Right.
at a bank. And then
that was this one was the friend.
Oh yeah.
The private lender friend.
This is another private lender friend. It was like, and then this was, oh my goodness.
This is the mom.
This is the mom. So another player, I got to play an Asian mom. And
so the player said, "Hey, I want to ask mom for money." So so Michael played an Asian mom.
And then it was so funny because she said, "So what kind of interest do you want?" I was like, "Oh, I only want to do business with you because you're my child. And what I want is I want you to call me every single time, every time you do a deal, but I want you to call me more often." Then she goes and promises that she's going to call her mom. And then her turn comes and goes and she doesn't call her mom.
And then Michael put the beat on and yelled to her, like, you haven't called me. I loaned you the money you promised. It was hilarious.
But then it was very true, right? And the lesson that we learned in that wasn't just, hey, call your mom. And you should call your mom, by the way. But the lesson learned was, how do we greet people and how do we talk to people? Because too many times, and by the way, my mistake too, by the way, I don't reach out to people. I don't call people enough and let them know what's going on. And it was just a great lesson for me to learn, and also a lesson for the players here is how to greet people, how to call them, and how to talk to them, because that's something that I need to work on for me. The reason I'm so hard on everybody else in the game is because it's just one of my weaknesses.
Well, same. I think we can always have rooms for improvement, and I can hold you accountable to that.
Seriously, right?
Yeah. Because then that means that I'll hold myself accountable to do the follow-up. I remember last year promising myself that this year I'll be a master of follow-up, and I'll be becoming each day, doing a little better. So
yeah. So I think we had a great time. Next gameplay is coming up in April. We're going to be focusing, because it's in April. So what happens in April every year for most people is they file their tax returns. So next Next time we play this game, this coming April, I'm going to be incorporating internal revenue code, capital gains, 1031 exchanges, and of course, as usual, contracts, and more contracts.
Yes, because contracts create
Well, so make a promise to yourself and help us help you.
yes.
Come play.
Yeah, come play. And maybe, if you're not here local, then, drop us a line and perhaps we'll create something online. So
Yeah, I've done this before via Zoom. So if you'd like to come and play and you're just not able to come, why don't we try doing a Zoom?
yeah, we can do both.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, comment below, show us some interest. And if we have enough interest, then we'll do it for you.
Very good.
All right, cool. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
I see you guys.